Touch her again, and you'll have to go through me. Marcus Reed's voice was low, but it cut through the rain hard enough to quiet the parking lot. 3 boys stood near the chain-link fence behind Lincoln Middle School, their sneakers dark with water, their laughter gone thin and uncertain. Behind Marcus, Lily Harper pressed herself against the brick wall, clutching a small silver biker patch to her chest. Her backpack lay in a puddle at her feet, one strap twisted like it had been yanked too fast. Marcus had been walking toward his old pickup with his son, Noah, when he heard the sharp scrape of a shoe against wet concrete and saw Lily's face. That was all it took. He stepped between her and the boys without thinking, broad shoulders blocking the gray afternoon light. The rain tapped against the hood of his truck. Somewhere beyond the school gates, a city bus sighed at the curb. "This isn't your business," the tallest boy said. His name was Trent Maddox. Marcus had seen him before, always surrounded by kids who laughed a second too late at his jokes. "It became my business when she looked scared," Marcus said. Trent's eyes narrowed. "She's fine." Lily didn't say anything. Her fingers tightened around the patch. Marcus noticed the tiny stitched wings on it, faded red and black, and the name beneath them, Rose Harper. He didn't know who Rose was. He only knew Lily looked like she was trying to disappear into the wall. Noah stood a few feet away, frozen beside the pickup, his lunchbox hanging from one hand. Marcus glanced at him once. Not long. Just enough to say, "Stay there." Noah understood. He always did. "Give her bag back," Marcus said. One of the boys lifted Lily's backpack by 2 fingers and let it drip. She dropped it, then set it down. The boy looked at Trent. Trent looked at Marcus. For a second, nobody moved. Water ran down Marcus's work jacket, carrying the faint smell of motor oil from the garage, where he'd spent 10 hours fixing brake lines and replacing a rusted muffler. He was tired. His hands ached. His rent was due Friday. But none of that mattered as much as the small, shaking breath behind him. Trent stepped closer, close enough for Marcus to see the anger in his face. "You think you're some kind of hero?" Marcus didn't raise his voice. "No, I think she deserves to get home without being afraid." The boy holding the backpack tossed it toward the ground. Marcus caught it before it hit the puddle and handed it back to Lily without turning around. Her fingers brushed his. "Cold. Thank you," she whispered. It was barely a sound. Then a phone camera clicked. Marcus heard it before he saw it. One of the boys had lifted his phone, recording only the part where Marcus stood in front of them, only the part where Trent's wrist was caught in Marcus's hand after he tried to shove past him. From the wrong angle, it would look bad. From the wrong angle, it would look like Marcus had started everything. A car engine roared somewhere near the front entrance. Deep, heavy, closer than it should have been. Lily's face changed. The color drained from it. "Dad," she breathed. Marcus turned toward the sound, rain sliding down his forehead, and saw a black motorcycle cut through the school lot like a storm with headlights. The motorcycle stopped near the curb with a low rumble that seemed to shake rain from the bare branches above the parking lot. The rider swung one boot to the pavement and pulled off his helmet. Caleb Harper was taller than Marcus expected, broad through the shoulders, his dark leather jacket marked with old road patches and a silver wing stitched over his heart. Rain clung to his beard. His eyes found Lily first. Then they found Marcus. Then they found Marcus's hand, still open at his side after catching the backpack. "Lily," Caleb called. His voice was rough, not loud, but every kid near the fence went still. Lily did not run to him. That seemed to confuse him more than anything. She stood behind Marcus with her backpack hugged tight against her ribs, staring at the wet pavement. Caleb walked closer, boots making soft splashes. "Are you hurt?" he asked her. Lily shook her head once. Marcus could feel her breathing behind him, quick and shallow. Caleb's gaze moved back to Marcus. "What happened?" Trent answered before Lily could. "This guy grabbed me." Marcus looked at the boy, then at the phone still raised in his friend's hand. The screen glowed with a frozen image of Marcus standing in the rain, larger than everyone around him. It was the kind of picture that could make a stranger decide a whole story in 1 second. Caleb's jaw tightened. "Did you touch my daughter?" he asked. Marcus met his eyes. "I kept her from getting cornered." "That is not what I asked." The rain grew steadier, ticking against metal, concrete, and the black helmet resting on Caleb's motorcycle seat. Marcus could have told him about the backpack, about the boys blocking Lily near the fence, about the way Trent had laughed when she tried to move past them. But Lily was still silent. and Marcus knew what it meant when a child went quiet in front of adults who were already angry. He had seen it in Noah after the divorce, when grown-ups spoke too fast and asked questions like they were collecting evidence instead of listening. "I did not hurt her," Marcus said. "I am sure of that." Caleb took another step forward. The scent of rain and leather reached Marcus through the cold air. "Then why is she hiding behind you?" Marcus looked over his shoulder. Lily's eyes were fixed on the small patch in her fist. Her thumb rubbed the faded edge again and again. "Maybe because she is scared," Marcus said. "Maybe because she thinks nobody will believe her." Caleb's expression shifted, but only for a moment. Trent's mother had arrived at the edge of the lot, her umbrella tilted against the wind. She hurried toward them in high heels, calling her son's name as if he had been the one left alone in the rain. "Trent," she said, pulling him close. "What did this man do?" Marcus felt Noah move closer to the pickup. He did not look back, but he heard the small scrape of Noah's sneakers on wet pavement. Caleb heard it too. His eyes flicked toward the boy, then back to Marcus. Lily finally lifted her face. Her lips parted. "Dad," she said, barely above the rain. Caleb leaned toward her. "I am here, sweetheart." But Lily's fingers closed around the patch until her knuckles turned pale. "They said Mom would be ashamed of me." The parking lot went quiet in a way rain could not fill. Caleb stopped breathing for half a beat. Trent looked away, and Marcus understood that whatever had happened before he arrived, it had started long before this afternoon. Caleb did not answer right away. The words seemed to settle on him heavier than the rain. "Mom would be ashamed of me." Lily had said it so quietly that Marcus almost wished the others had not heard. But they had. Trent's mother stopped adjusting her umbrella. The boy with the phone lowered it halfway. Even the school bus at the curb seemed to wait, its yellow lights blinking through the wet gray afternoon. Caleb looked at the patch in Lily's hand. The red and black wings had been stitched there by someone who had wanted to be remembered. Marcus watched Caleb's face change as he recognized it. Not like a man discovering something new, but like a man realizing he had missed something that had been in front of him all along. "Who said that?" Caleb asked. His voice had gone softer. Lily stared at the ground. Trent shifted his weight. "Nobody said anything," he muttered. "She is making it dramatic." His mother turned sharply toward him. "Trent." But the warning came too late. Lily flinched at the sound of his name. Marcus noticed. So did Caleb. Noah had moved closer now, standing beside the pickup's front tire with rain beating on his dark curls. He held his lunchbox against his chest, watching Lily the way children watched each other when adults forgot they were there. Marcus wanted to tell Noah to get inside the truck. He wanted to take Lily somewhere warm. He wanted this whole parking lot to stop staring at a 10-year-old girl like her pain was a problem to solve before dinner. Instead, he crouched slowly, keeping his distance. "Lily," he said, "you do not have to explain everything right now." Her eyes lifted to his. "You do not." "No," Marcus said. "Not until you are ready." Caleb's face tightened. "She needs to tell me what happened." Marcus looked up at him. "She will. But she needs to know you are listening first." The words hung between them. Caleb's leather jacket creaked as he shifted his shoulders. For a moment, Marcus thought the man would argue. Then Caleb looked at Lily again, really looked at her. Her soaked sneakers. The smear of dirt along one sleeve. The patch she had kept dry under her palm, even while everything else got wet. "I am listening," Caleb said. Lily swallowed. "They took Mom's patch." Trent gave a quick laugh that sounded wrong in the quiet. "It is just a patch." Caleb's eyes moved toward him, and the laugh disappeared. Lily continued, each word coming slowly. "They said it was weird. They said she was only a biker and that you were always gone anyway." Caleb's hand dropped to his side. Marcus saw the truth land in him. Not just the cruelty of what had been said, but the part of it that hurt because it touched something he feared might be true. He had arrived late. Again, the school dismissal bell had been over for nearly 20 minutes. Lily had been waiting in the rain while he was somewhere on the road, chasing a job, a promise, or a reason he thought mattered. Trent's mother pulled her son closer. "My son would never intentionally upset anyone," she said, though her voice lacked certainty now. Marcus stood, rainwater dripping from the edge of his jacket. "Intent does not make fear disappear," he said. Trent looked at him with a hard, embarrassed stare. "You do not know anything about it." "I know what it looks like when a kid thinks being cruel will make him look bigger," Marcus replied. Noah's small voice came from beside the truck. "Dad." Marcus turned. Noah was holding a phone in both hands. Its screen was bright against the dark afternoon. I recorded some of it, he said. And suddenly, every face in the parking lot turned toward him. Noah held the phone out with both hands, as if it weighed more than it did. Rain dotted the cracked screen, but the video was still playing. Marcus stepped toward him, not to take it away, only to lower the phone beneath the edge of his jacket so the water would not ruin it. You recorded this? He asked gently. Noah nodded. I was waiting by the truck. I saw Lily drop her patch. His voice shook on the last word, but he did not look away. Caleb moved closer, his boots stopping a few feet from the phone. Trent's mother followed, her umbrella now forgotten at her side. Marcus could feel the whole parking lot tightening around that small bright screen. The school security guard had come out from the side entrance, radio clipped to his belt, watching with the cautious expression of someone who had arrived late and already knew there would be paperwork. Noah pressed play. At first, there was only wind and the blur of wet pavement. Then Lily appeared near the fence, walking with her backpack tight against her shoulders. Trent stepped into her path. The other boys formed a loose half-circle behind him. Their voices were thin through the rain, but clear enough. Why do you wear that old thing every day? Trent asked, pointing at the patch. Lily tried to move around him. He moved with her. Your dad does not even pick you up on time. Maybe he does not care about it either. Caleb's face went still. Noah's thumb trembled against the side of the phone. The video showed Lily holding the patch close. It showed one of the boys reaching toward it. It showed Marcus coming into frame from the far side of the lot, his work boots splashing through shallow water, his hand raised not in anger, but in warning. Then the screen shook as Noah moved behind the truck. The next seconds were unclear, only voices and rain and Lily's backpack sliding across the concrete. But there was no mistaking what came after. Marcus stepped in front of Lily. Marcus bent to pick up her bag. Marcus kept the boys away without shouting. The security guard leaned in. Can I see that again? He asked. Noah looked at Marcus first. Marcus nodded. You did the right thing, he said. Noah replayed it. This time, nobody spoke. Trent's mother watched her son on the screen and seemed to shrink inside her expensive coat. When the video ended, the silence that followed felt different from the silence before. It was not confusion anymore. It was truth, cold and unavoidable, standing in the rain with all of them. Caleb looked at Marcus. The anger had not disappeared from his face, but it no longer had a target. I thought, he began. Then he stopped. Marcus knew that sentence. He had heard it from people who saw his skin before they saw his hands, his work, his son, his heart. I thought you were dangerous. I thought you did not belong here. I thought I knew what happened. Marcus did not make him finish. You were scared for your daughter, he said. Caleb's eyes flickered toward Lily. That does not excuse it. Marcus looked at the patch in her hand. No, it does not. The security guard cleared his throat and asked Trent and the other boys to come inside. Trent's mother started to protest, then saw Lily standing small beside Marcus and lowered her voice. Caleb crouched in front of his daughter. He did not reach for her right away. I should have been here, he said. Lily's mouth tightened. You always say that. The words landed harder than any accusation. Caleb looked down at the wet pavement. Marcus turned toward Noah, ready to take him home, ready to leave this family to its pain. But then Lily looked at him and whispered, Please do not go yet. Marcus stopped, and across the parking lot, the security guard's radio crackled with a new voice. Mr. Maddox is on his way. He says nobody is taking his son anywhere. The security guard lifted his radio closer to his mouth, but before he could answer, headlights swept across the wet lot. A dark SUV rolled through the school gate and stopped near the curb with the smooth confidence of someone used to arriving after the rules had already bent for him. The driver door opened. Richard Maddox stepped out beneath a wide black umbrella, his charcoal coat dry, his phone pressed to one ear. He ended the call when he saw the group near the fence. His eyes moved from Trent to the security guard, then to Caleb, then finally to Marcus. They stayed there a second too long. What is going on? Richard asked. His voice was calm, polished, and sharp around the edges. Trent's mother hurried toward him. There has been a misunderstanding. There is a video, the security guard said. Richard did not look at the phone. My son has told me enough. Marcus felt Noah's hand slide into his. Small fingers. Cold fingers. He closed his hand around them. Lily stood beside Caleb now, but not close enough to touch him. The patch was still in her fist. Richard walked toward Trent and placed a hand on his shoulder. You all right? Trent nodded, eyes fixed on the ground. This man grabbed me. The words came out quickly, like they had been waiting for an adult to repeat them to. Richard looked at Marcus again. Did you put your hands on my son? Caleb stepped forward before Marcus could answer. He stepped in when your son and his friends cornered my daughter. Richard gave a faint smile that did not reach his eyes. Caleb Harper. Of course. The way he said the name made the rain feel colder. I am sure you see this as some kind of street justice. Caleb's shoulders stiffened. Marcus saw it, the old reflex rising in him, the urge to answer disrespect with more of it. But Lily was watching. Noah was watching. Marcus spoke first. Nobody needs to make this bigger than it is. Richard turned toward him. That is generous of you. His gaze dropped to Marcus's oil-stained jacket, then to the old pickup, then back to Marcus's face. But I think the school should decide whether an adult had any business getting involved with children. Noah's grip tightened. Marcus felt the familiar heat climb into his chest, not because of the accusation, but because Richard had chosen his words carefully. Adult. Children. Involved. He had not said dangerous, but the word sat there anyway. The security guard held out the phone. The recording shows what happened. Richard barely glanced at it. A recording from his son? He looked at Noah. That is not exactly impartial. Noah lowered his eyes. Marcus bent slightly beside him. Look at me, he said softly. Noah did. You saw what you saw. That does not change because someone important does not like it. Richard's mouth tightened. Caleb looked at Marcus then, not with suspicion this time, but with something quieter. Something like recognition. Lily took one small step forward. He helped me, she said. Her voice was thin, but it carried. Richard looked down at her, as if he had forgotten she was there. I am sure he meant well. Lily shook her head. No. He did. The words were simple. They left no room to hide. The security guard asked Richard to come inside with Trent so they could review the video and contact the principal. Richard's umbrella tilted as he turned toward the building. Fine, he said. But this is not over. Marcus watched him walk away, Trent following beside him with his head down. The rain had started to ease, falling softer now, like the sky was tired too. Caleb stood near Marcus, his helmet tucked beneath one arm. You could have left, Caleb said. Marcus looked at Lily. She asked me not to. Caleb nodded once. Then he looked at Noah. And your boy? Marcus glanced down at his son. Noah was still holding the phone, the screen dark now. He is brave, Marcus said. Noah looked up at him. Dad. Yeah. Can we stay until Lily is okay? Marcus felt something tighten in his throat. He looked at Caleb, then at Lily, then at the school doors closing behind Richard Maddox. Yeah, he said. We can stay. Inside the school office, the fluorescent lights hummed with a tired, colorless sound. Marcus sat in a plastic chair beside Noah, his damp jacket folded over the back so it would not drip onto the tile. Across the room, Lily sat between Caleb and the school counselor, Ms. Alvarez. She had a paper cup of hot chocolate in both hands, though she had not taken a sip. The steam rose past her face and disappeared beneath the vent. Caleb had taken off his leather jacket. Without it, he looked less like the man who had arrived on a roaring motorcycle and more like a father who did not know where to put his hands. He kept glancing at Lily, then away, as if he was afraid looking too long might make her shut down again. Marcus understood that too. Some apologies came too early. Some questions came too fast. The principal, Mrs. Bennett, stood near her desk with Noah's phone in one hand and a legal pad in the other. Richard Maddox sat across from her, one ankle resting on the opposite knee, his coat still perfectly dry. Trent sat beside his father with his shoulders drawn up, staring at the carpet. The video is clear, Mrs. Bennett said. It shows Mr. Reed stepping in after Lily was blocked from leaving. Richard's expression did not change. It shows a partial view of a confusing situation. It also shows your son making comments about Lily's mother, Ms. Alvarez said quietly. Richard looked toward Lily. Children say foolish things. That does not mean they should be treated like criminals. Caleb's eyes lifted. Marcus saw the anger there, sharp and ready. Before it could become something else, Lily spoke. I did not want him to get in trouble. Everyone turned toward her. Her voice was still soft, but it did not disappear. I just wanted him to stop. Trent looked up for the first time. Lily held the paper cup tighter. He kept taking Mom's patch. He said Dad did not care because Dad was never there. Caleb's face folded inward. Richard put a hand on Trent's shoulder. He apologized, did he not? Trent did not answer. The room waited. Rain traced slow lines down the window behind Mrs. Bennett's desk. Noah leaned closer to Marcus and whispered, "Dad." He did not say sorry. Marcus squeezed his hand once. Richard heard him. His eyes shifted toward Noah with a look that made Marcus sit straighter. "Your son may not have heard everything." "He heard enough," Marcus said. His voice stayed calm, but it filled the small office. So did Lily. Richard smiled without warmth. "You have a strong opinion for someone who was not involved until the last minute." Marcus looked at the phone on the desk. Then he looked at Lily. "I was involved when she needed help." The words landed quietly. Caleb lowered his eyes. Mrs. Bennett set the phone down. "Mr. Maddox, your son will be suspended pending a full review. The other students will be interviewed tomorrow morning." Richard stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. "You are suspending him over a child's video and the word of a stranger?" Lily flinched. Marcus noticed before anyone else did. He shifted his chair just enough to block her view of Richard without making a scene. Caleb noticed that too. For a moment, the biker's eyes met Marcus's across the office. No challenge. No suspicion. Only a silent understanding. Then Caleb turned to his daughter. "Lily," he said, his voice rough around the edges, "I am sorry I was late." Lily stared into her cocoa. "You were late yesterday too." Caleb swallowed. "I know." The room went still. Outside, a motorcycle engine started somewhere in the distance, then faded into the rain. Caleb reached for Lily's hand, but stopped before touching it. "I am here now," he said. Lily looked at his hand for a long moment. Then she placed her small fingers in his palm. Marcus looked away, giving them the privacy of one quiet breath. But Richard Maddox was still standing near the door, and the look on his face said he had not accepted anything yet. Richard Maddox left the office without another word, but the sound of the door closing behind him stayed in the room longer than it should have. Mrs. Bennett exhaled slowly and began gathering the papers on her desk. Ms. Alvarez offered Lily a small smile, then asked if she wanted to sit in the quiet room for a few minutes before going home. Lily nodded, but she did not let go of Caleb's hand. Marcus stood and reached for his jacket. The fabric was still damp and smelled faintly of rain, motor oil, and the cold concrete of the parking lot. Noah stood beside him, tired now, his lunchbox resting against his knee. "Thank you for staying," Caleb said. Marcus looked toward Lily. "She did the hard part." Caleb gave a short nod, but his eyes stayed on Marcus. "No, you did something I should have done." Marcus did not answer right away. He knew what Caleb meant, but he also knew a man could drown in regret if nobody gave him a way to climb out. "You are here now," Marcus said. "Make that mean something." Caleb looked down at Lily's hand in his. His thumb moved gently over her knuckles. "It will." Outside, the rain had slowed to a mist. The school parking lot glistened under the yellow security lights, empty except for Marcus's aging pickup, Caleb's black motorcycle, and the dark SUV Richard Maddox had left behind near the curb. Marcus opened the passenger door for Noah. "Seatbelt," he said. Noah climbed in without arguing. Before Marcus could close the door, Lily came out with Caleb beside her. She had traded the paper cup for her backpack, and the silver patch was pinned carefully to the front pocket. It looked small against the faded blue fabric, but she held herself differently now. Not taller, not braver all at once, just less alone. "Mr. Reed," she said. Marcus turned. "You can call me Marcus." Lily looked at Noah, then back at him. "Thank you for believing me." Marcus felt the words settle somewhere deep. He had spent years teaching Noah that people deserve to be heard, but hearing a child say it back to him was different. "You told the truth," he said. "That is what I believed." Caleb stepped closer, his helmet hanging from one hand. "I owe you an apology." Marcus looked at him. "You were worried about your daughter." "I judged you before I listened," Caleb said. "That is different." The mist caught in Caleb's beard. His eyes did not move away this time. "I saw a black man standing near my scared kid, and I decided I knew the story. I was wrong." Marcus held his gaze. The parking lot was quiet enough that Noah could hear every word from the truck. "Then do better with the next story," Marcus said. Caleb nodded. "I will." For a moment, it seemed like that might be the end of it. Marcus got behind the wheel, turned the key, and listened as the old engine coughed before settling into its familiar uneven hum. He put the truck in reverse. Then Noah leaned forward from the passenger seat. "Dad," he said. Marcus looked over. Noah was staring through the windshield at the dark SUV. "Why is that car still here?" Marcus followed his gaze. The SUV's windows were tinted black. No lights were on. But just as he looked, the driver's side window lowered 2 inches. A pale hand appeared, holding a phone. The screen glowed in the dark. Then the window rose again. Caleb had seen it too. He placed his helmet on the motorcycle seat and reached for his own phone. "Stay here," he said. Marcus shook his head. "No, we do this the right way." He picked up his phone and called the school security office. Across the lot, the SUV started moving. Slow at first, then faster. It turned toward the exit and disappeared into the wet street beyond the gate. Lily stood close to Caleb, watching the red taillights fade. "Was that Trent's dad?" she asked. Caleb did not answer. Marcus looked at the empty road, then at the phone in his hand. Something in his chest told him the day was not finished. Not even close. The next morning arrived clear and cold, the kind of November morning that made every windshield shine silver beneath the streetlights. Marcus stood outside Reed Auto and Truck Repair before sunrise, pulling the metal gate up with both hands while Noah sat in the pickup, finishing a blueberry muffin. The shop was small, wedged between a tire store and a laundromat on the east side of town. Its sign had lost 2 letters years ago, and the waiting room smelled like coffee, rubber, and the lemon cleaner Marcus used on the counter every Friday. It was not much, but it was theirs. Marcus had opened the place after his divorce with a loan he barely qualified for and a promise to himself that Noah would always know where to find him. His phone buzzed in his pocket before he reached the front door. The message came from an unknown number. It was a photograph of Noah standing beside the school pickup the day before, his lunchbox in one hand and Lily's backpack in the other. Beneath it were 6 words. "Stay out of things that are not yours." Marcus read it twice. Then he locked the phone screen and looked toward Noah. His son had his forehead against the passenger window, watching a delivery truck turn onto the avenue. He looked small in the wide seat, but peaceful. Marcus did not want fear to become another thing Noah had to carry. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. "Come on," he said. "You are going to be late." Noah climbed out with his backpack. "Are you okay?" Marcus looked at him. Children always knew when something changed, even when adults tried to hide it behind a calm voice. "I am okay," Marcus said. "But I need you to remember something." Noah waited. "If anybody ever makes you feel worried, you tell me. You do not keep it to yourself." Noah nodded slowly. Like Lily. Like Lily." Marcus drove him to school by the longer route, past the park and the small diner with the red awning. He watched the mirrors more than usual. Nothing followed them. Nothing looked wrong. Still, when he pulled into the drop-off line, he saw Caleb Harper standing near the front entrance with Lily. Caleb wore jeans, a gray work shirt, and no leather jacket. His motorcycle was parked farther down the block, but he had come early. Lily had a new backpack strap and Rose Harper's patch pinned where everyone could see it. She spotted Noah through the truck window and lifted one hand. Noah smiled back. Caleb walked over as Marcus stepped out. "I got a call from the principal," Caleb said. "Richard Maddox has hired a lawyer. He is saying the video was edited." Marcus felt the cold settle beneath his collar. "It was not. I know that." Caleb glanced toward Noah and Lily. "But he is trying to make this about you. He says you were looking for trouble." Marcus looked at the school doors. Children moved through them in bright coats, carrying projects and lunch bags, unaware of the adult mess gathering around one small phone. "He sent me a message," Marcus said. Caleb's face changed. "What kind of message?" Marcus did not show him the picture. "Not yet. The kind meant to make me quiet." Caleb's jaw tightened, but Marcus raised a hand. "Do not." Caleb stopped. "Do not turn this into a fight," Marcus said. "That is what he wants. He wants us angry enough to make his story believable." Caleb looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "So what do we do?" Marcus watched Lily take Noah's hand for a second before they walked toward the doors. "We tell the truth," he said, "and we make sure they are not alone when we do." Caleb looked toward his daughter. "I can do that." Marcus started back toward the pickup, but his phone buzzed again. This time, the message contained only an address and a time. 8 o'clock tonight. Under it were 4 words that made Marcus stop breathing for a moment. "Bring the original phone." Marcus did not answer the message. He did not delete it either. He drove back to the shop with both hands tied on the wheel, the phone face down in the cup holder, as if turning it over could make the words less real. The address was on the far side of town, behind an old strip mall where half the storefronts had been empty since spring. 8 o'clock tonight. Bring the original phone. It was not a request. By noon, the message had followed him through every task. It sat beside him while he changed the oil on a delivery van. It waited in the silence when he tightened a loose belt beneath the hood of a minivan. It stayed there when he washed his hands at the cracked sink in the back room, black water spiraling toward the drain. Marcus knew what Richard Maddox wanted. He wanted the video gone. He wanted the story to become uncertain enough that people would stop asking questions. And he wanted Marcus to feel alone enough to do it. At 3:15, Caleb's motorcycle rolled into the shop lot. The engine cut off, leaving a sudden quiet behind it. Caleb stepped through the open bay door holding 2 coffees and wearing the same gray work shirt from that morning. Marcus was under a lifted pickup, his boots visible beneath the frame. "You cannot be here," Marcus called. "I have work." Caleb set 1 coffee on the tool chest. "I know." Marcus slid out, wiping his hands on a rag. "Then why are you here?" Caleb looked at him carefully. "Because you looked like a man carrying something heavy this morning." Marcus almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You do not know me." "No," Caleb said. "But I know what it looks like when someone thinks he has to handle everything by himself." Marcus looked away. The shop lights reflected in the puddles near the entrance. Outside, traffic moved along the avenue in a steady gray blur. "Richard sent me an address," Marcus said at last. Caleb's face went hard. "What address?" "Does not matter. It matters if he is trying to pressure you." Marcus reached for the coffee, but did not drink it. "That is exactly why I cannot bring you into it." Caleb stepped closer, then stopped at a respectful distance. "You did not ask whether Lily was my problem before you helped her." Marcus's jaw tightened. Lily was a kid standing alone. "And you are not," Caleb said. The words hung between them. Marcus looked toward the office window, where a framed photo of Noah at age 5 sat beside a stack of unpaid invoices. He thought about the picture Richard had sent. He thought about Noah's small hand in his. "I cannot risk him," Marcus said. Caleb nodded slowly. "Then do not." Marcus looked back at him. "What?" "Do not go alone. Do not take the phone. Do not give Richard what he wants." Caleb pulled out his own phone and placed it on the tool chest. "Call the police. Call the principal. Call a lawyer if you have to. But do not meet a man in the dark because he thinks money makes him untouchable." Marcus stared at the address on his screen. Every part of him wanted to solve it quietly, to make the danger disappear before it reached Noah. But quiet was how people like Richard got away with deciding whose voice mattered. At 5 o'clock, Marcus picked Noah up from his Aunt Denise's apartment instead of the after-school program. He did not explain everything. He only said they were having dinner together at home. Noah sat at the kitchen table later, coloring a picture of a motorcycle beside an old red pickup. "Dad," he said, "is Lily in trouble because I recorded the video?" Marcus sat across from him. The kitchen smelled like tomato soup and grilled cheese. "No," he said. "Lily is safer because you told the truth." Noah looked down at his drawing. "Then why do you look scared?" Marcus did not lie. "Because sometimes telling the truth makes people angry." Noah was quiet for a moment. Then he slid the drawing across the table. On it, the motorcycle and pickup were parked side by side under a bright yellow sun. "Maybe you do not have to do it by yourself," he said. Marcus looked at the picture until his vision blurred. Then his phone buzzed again. This time, there was no message. Only a photograph of the front door of his apartment building. Marcus did not let Noah see the fear that crossed his face. He turned the phone over on the table and forced his voice to stay even. "Finish your soup," he said. Noah looked at him for a second, then nodded. But Marcus knew his son had noticed. Children noticed the spaces between words. They noticed when a father's hand stayed too long near his phone. After dinner, Marcus called Caleb from the hallway outside their apartment, where the old radiator clicked behind the walls and someone downstairs was playing a game show too loudly. Caleb answered on the second ring. "Tell me you did not go." "I did not go," Marcus said. "Good." Marcus looked through the narrow window at the end of the hall. The parking lot below was dark except for one flickering lamp. "He sent a picture of my building." The silence on the other end changed. Caleb did not raise his voice. That made it worse. "Did you call the police?" "Not yet." "Marcus." "I know." He rubbed a hand over his face. "I do not want Noah answering questions. I do not want uniforms outside the building. I do not want him thinking every strange car means something bad is about to happen." Caleb was quiet for a moment. "And what do you want?" Marcus looked back toward his apartment door. Behind it, Noah was humming softly while he rinsed his bowl in the sink. "I want him to feel safe." Then let people help keep him safe, Caleb said. Marcus closed his eyes. Caleb was right, and Marcus hated how much he needed to hear it. Within 20 minutes, Officer Dana Collins arrived in an unmarked sedan. She was not in uniform. She wore a navy coat, carried a small notebook, and spoke to Noah first like he was a person instead of a problem. "Your dad says you took a video at school," she said. Noah nodded. "I did." "That was smart," Officer Collins said. "Can you tell me where the phone is now?" Noah looked at Marcus. Marcus nodded. "It is in the kitchen drawer," Noah said. Officer Collins wrote that down. Then she looked at Marcus. "The messages and photographs are concerning. I cannot say who sent them until we verify the number, but you did the right thing calling." Marcus gave a tired laugh. "I almost did not." "Most people almost do not," she said. "That is why people who pressure others count on silence." Caleb arrived a few minutes later, his motorcycle parked across the street beneath the lamp. He came up the stairs carrying a paper bag from a diner. "I brought fries," he said to Noah, "and a milkshake." Noah looked at Marcus for permission. Marcus nodded, and for the first time that night, Noah smiled. Lily was with Caleb's sister, safe at home, Caleb explained. Marcus watched him set the bag on the table, careful not to crowd the small kitchen. He had come without leather, without the motorcycle club, without the loud certainty Marcus had expected from him the day before. He had simply come. Officer Collins copied the messages, photographed the phone screen, and told Marcus she would request patrol checks around the building. Before she left, she paused by the door. "Do not meet anyone tonight," she said. "And if another message comes, save it. Do not respond." Marcus nodded. At 8 o'clock, the exact time written in the message, his phone lit up again. Everyone in the kitchen went still. The new message was only one sentence. "You made this public. Now you get to see what public costs." Caleb looked at Marcus. Officer Collins had not yet reached the bottom of the stairs. Marcus could have felt panic rise. He could have let Richard Maddox turn the room cold. Instead, he looked at Noah, who was dipping a fry into ketchup with serious concentration. Then he looked at Caleb. "Tomorrow," Marcus said, "we take every message, every photo, every video to the principal and the police. No secrets." Caleb nodded. "No secrets." Marcus picked up Noah's drawing from the table. The motorcycle and the pickup were still parked side by side beneath the yellow sun. He placed it on the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a wrench. Outside, the night pressed against the windows. But inside the small apartment, Marcus was no longer standing alone. By 9 the next morning, the conference room at Lincoln Middle School smelled like burnt coffee and wet coats. Marcus sat beside Noah at one end of the long table. Caleb and Lily sat across from them. Mrs. Bennett had the original phone, the copied messages, and the printed screenshots arranged in neat rows before her. Officer Collins stood near the window, speaking quietly with a district investigator. Richard Maddox arrived 10 minutes late with a lawyer in a blue suit and a face that looked as if he had never once been told to wait. Trent walked behind them, pale and silent. Marcus watched the boy take his seat. For the first time, Trent did not look powerful. He looked like a kid who had discovered that adults could not erase every consequence. Richard placed a folder on the table. "My son has been subjected to public humiliation," he said. "There are posts online calling him names. Someone leaked that video." Mrs. Bennett's expression did not change. The school did not release the video. Richard's lawyer slid a document across the table. "We are prepared to discuss a resolution that protects all children involved." Marcus did not touch the paper. Caleb leaned forward. "What kind of resolution?" The lawyer smiled politely. "Mr. Reed agrees not to share the video further. The school agrees to handle the matter privately. And everyone moves on." Lily's fingers curled around the edge of her chair. Marcus saw it. He saw Caleb see it too. Richard looked directly at Marcus. "You have a son. You understand that children make mistakes." Marcus held his gaze. "I do." Richard nodded, as if they had found common ground. "Then you know this does not need to become a spectacle." Marcus looked at Noah. His son was staring at the wrench-shaped magnet Marcus had tucked into his pocket that morning, turning it slowly between his fingers. Marcus thought of the messages, the photograph of their apartment, the pressure hidden behind careful words. He could have named every fear Richard had placed at his door. He could have let the room see the ugliness of it. But Lily was sitting across from him, and this was not about making Richard small. It was about making sure she was heard. "I will not share the video," Marcus said. Richard's shoulders loosened. "Good. But I will not pretend it did not happen," Marcus continued. And I will not sign anything that asks Lily to be quiet. The room went still. Caleb looked at Marcus, then at his daughter. Lily's eyes were wet, but she did not look down. Richard's lawyer adjusted his tie. No one is asking the child to be quiet. You are asking everyone to move on before she has been made safe, Marcus said. His voice was calm. That is not the same thing. Trent shifted in his chair. He looked at Lily, then at the floor. Dad, he said. Richard turned toward him. Not now. Trent swallowed. No. I need to say it. The words came out small, but they were his. I took the patch. I said those things. The other guys laughed because I started it. Richard's face hardened. Trent. I did, Trent said again. He looked at Lily. I am sorry. Lily did not answer right away. Ms. Alvarez, seated near the door, gave her a quiet nod. Lily took a breath. I do not know if I forgive you yet. Trent's eyes dropped. Okay. Marcus felt Noah's hand find his beneath the table. Caleb's eyes shone, but he did not wipe them. Richard sat back slowly, as if the room had changed shape around him. Officer Collins stepped forward with her notebook. Mr. Maddox, she said, we also need to discuss the messages sent to Mr. Reed. Richard looked up. The color left his face. His lawyer turned toward him sharply. And for the first time since this began, Richard Maddox had no polished answer ready. Richard did not deny the messages. That was what Marcus noticed first. He looked at the printed screenshots on the table, then at his lawyer, then at the rain sliding down the conference room window. For a man who had arrived with a folder full of solutions, he suddenly looked like someone standing in a room with no exits. I did not threaten anyone, Richard said at last. Officer Collins kept her voice level. You sent photographs of Mr. Reed's child in residence. You instructed him to bring evidence to a private location. You contacted him after being told the school was reviewing the incident. Richard's lawyer leaned close and spoke to him in a whisper. Richard listened without looking away from Marcus. I was trying to protect my son, he said. Caleb gave a quiet, bitter laugh. By making another father afraid for his? Richard's eyes flashed. You do not understand what it is like to watch your child become the target of an entire town. Caleb's hand moved toward Lily's, then stopped beside it. I understand more than you think. The room fell silent again. Marcus could feel Noah's fingers under his palm. He thought about every time he had wanted to say something sharp enough to leave a mark. He thought about Richard's face in the parking lot, the way he had looked at Marcus's jacket and truck before he looked at the truth. But he also saw Trent sitting beside his father, small in a chair that was too big for him. The boy's eyes were fixed on the table. Marcus knew that look too. It was the look of a child waiting to find out whether the adult beside him would teach him how to own a mistake or how to hide it. Your son needs consequences, Marcus said. Richard looked up. But he also needs someone to show him what accountability looks like. Richard's jaw tightened. Do not tell me how to raise my child. Marcus nodded once. Then do not teach him that power means he never has to face what he did. The words did not rise. They did not need to. Mrs. Bennett set down her pen. The school will proceed with its disciplinary review. We will also create a safety plan for Lily and the other students involved. Ms. Alvarez added, and we will offer restorative meetings only if Lily chooses them. She will not be pressured. Lily looked at Marcus, then at Trent. I want him to know he cannot do that to someone else, she said. Trent nodded without lifting his head. I know. Richard stared at his son for a long time. Something in his expression softened, then broke open. Not dramatically, just enough that the polished mask slipped. I was wrong, he said. The words sounded unfamiliar in his mouth. He turned toward Marcus. I was wrong about you. Marcus did not rush to forgive him. He only listened. Richard looked at the screenshots again. I was scared, he continued. And I made fear into an excuse. Officer Collins wrote something in her notebook, then closed it. The messages will remain part of the record, she said. Richard nodded. They should. Caleb looked toward Marcus. There was a question in his eyes, but Marcus did not answer it with a speech. He simply reached across the table and moved Noah's phone closer to Mrs. Bennett. Keep it safe, he said. For Lily. For every kid who thinks nobody will believe them. Noah looked up at his father. Can we go now? Marcus smiled softly. Yes, son. We can go. As they stood, Caleb rose too. Wait, he said. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small metal key on a black ring. My shop has an extra bay, he told Marcus. You said business has been tight. Bring your truck in this weekend. I will help you fix the transmission issue you mentioned. Marcus looked at the key, then at Caleb. You do not owe me that. Caleb shook his head. Maybe not, but I want to earn the right to call you a friend. Lily stepped beside her father and held out Rose's patch. Can you help me put it on my new jacket later? She asked Marcus. Marcus looked at the little patch, faded but strong. I would be honored, he said. And when Lily smiled, the room finally felt warmer than it had all morning. 2 weeks later, Saturday sunlight spilled through the open bay doors of Caleb Harper's motorcycle shop, turning the dust in the air gold. Marcus's old pickup sat in the center bay with its hood raised, the engine quiet at last. Caleb stood beside it in a faded black t-shirt, one hand resting on the fender while Marcus tightened the final bolt beneath the transmission. The shop smelled of warm metal, coffee, and the clean, sharp scent of new rubber. It was different from Marcus's small garage across town, but not unfamiliar. Tools hung in straight lines along the walls. Old photographs of riders and long roads filled the space above the workbench. In one picture, Rose Harper stood beside a blue motorcycle, laughing into the wind, her red and black patch bright on her jacket. Lily had pointed it out the moment she arrived. That is my mom, she had said, with a smile that did not hurt as much anymore. Near the front window, Noah and Lily sat at a folding table covered with crayons, paper, and 2 half-finished grilled cheese sandwiches. Noah was drawing a truck with oversized wheels. Lily was carefully sewing Rose's patch onto the back of a new denim jacket. Marcus had shown her how to guide the needle through the fabric without rushing. Her tongue pressed lightly against the corner of her mouth as she worked. You are getting good at that, Marcus said. Lily looked up. Mom taught me the first stitch. Caleb heard it from across the bay. He did not turn away this time. He walked over and crouched beside her chair. She would be proud of you, he said. Lily looked at him for a long moment. You think so? Caleb nodded. I know so. Then he added, and I am proud of you too. Lily set the needle down and leaned into him. Caleb wrapped an arm around her carefully, like he understood that being there was not one big promise. It was 100 small ones. Marcus watched from the truck, then looked down at the grease on his hands. He thought about the parking lot in the rain. He thought about how quickly people had decided who he was before they knew his name. He thought about Noah holding up that phone with shaking hands. The transmission clicked into place beneath his wrench. Caleb came back to the truck and handed Marcus a clean rag. Try it now, he said. Marcus slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine started smooth and steady. No cough. No shudder. Just the low, honest sound of something repaired. Noah ran over to the open door. It sounds better, he said. Marcus smiled. It does. Caleb leaned against the hood. You know, I kept thinking about that day. Marcus looked at him. The part where I got it wrong. Marcus wiped his hands slowly. What matters is what you did after. Caleb nodded. I am still learning. So am I, Marcus said. Outside, a group of riders passed the shop, their engines rolling down the street like distant thunder. Lily stood in the doorway wearing her new jacket. Rose's patch rested between her shoulder blades, bright against the blue denim. She lifted her chin as the sunlight touched it. Noah stepped beside her, holding the drawing he had made weeks before. The motorcycle and the old pickup were still parked side by side beneath a yellow sun. Marcus looked at Caleb. Caleb looked back. Neither man needed to say much. Some people thought strength was about being the loudest person in the room. But Marcus had learned it could be quieter than that. It could be a father arriving on time, a child telling the truth, a hand held out without asking what someone looked like first. And as Lily laughed at something Noah whispered, Marcus understood that no one had changed the whole world that day. They had changed one small corner of it. For 2 children standing in the light, that was enough.